Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! All right, folks, this is episode number 135. It is part 2 of the Rockin' Pod Expo interviews. I'm Alan Tate with Dennis Talbot and Bill Algie here.
Hey, what's up?
This week we've got Todzilla, Greg Renoff, an up-and-coming lady named Alora, and Kenny Olsen. And I just want to throw out real quick, Greg Renoff is, the interview is done by a guest, a friend of ours named Jason Thomas Broderick. So...
Yes. Who has a cool record store.
He has turn it over to him.
He has a pretty cool record store, yeah. Well, I turned that interview over to him because he was all like, oh, man, I know so many questions I could ask this guy. And I'm like, okay, you're hired.
That's the thing about this show.
And I haven't heard the interview.
We're so easy to work with. We'll just give the show over to somebody else.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
We should let our wives interview somebody sometime.
We've talked to, no, we need to have our wives talk.
If we could
should maybe get Leif Garrett or something like that to be on here, and Lisa would probably freak out.
Leif Garrett, Sean Cassidy, and Danny Bonaducci.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we get those guys on here.
That would be pretty funny.
We've seen David Cassidy. Actually, Lisa had seen David Cassidy. I thought she was going to fall down the escalator.
David Cassidy's dead now.
Yeah, I said Sean Cassidy.
Well, not
Bill.
like lately, but you saw David a long time ago.
But anyway, folks, we led the most boring lives over this past weekend, so we have nothing else for the pre-show. So here are your Rockin' Pod interviews.
All right, this is Dennis from Ages of Rock podcast. We're here with Todzilla.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. He is a Nashville staple in this town as far as...
More like a push pin.
A push pin. But anyway, actually, I just seen you... I met you last year at the other expo,
yes.
At the first expo. And then recently, me and my wife, we went down on, is it 12th Street?
12th South.
12th South, sorry. And we go down there shopping. She loves to go shopping. Of course, there's the corner music store.
Sure.
Which I go in there, and it's a great music store. I mean, it's got everything in there. And then I see you in there, and I guess you've been there for how many years?
22 years.
Wow.
Been there a long time.
So you've sold a lot of instruments to a lot of musicians who, may have made it, may have not. Who knows?
When you do my job, you come into contact with people that's, you see them sometimes on their way up, and then you see some guys on the way down, and some guys that are just kind of riding,
So you're selling their first guitar, maybe trading it in.
Yeah. This guy came into the store one time. He just got off the bus, kind of thing.
Right.
He was, this young kid, and he had his cowboy hat on, and he had his belt buckle and his jeans, and he's sitting there playing a Telecaster, and,
right.
And I go up to him and, doing my job. I sell guitars, so I go, hey, man, how's it going? Oh, and we start talking a little bit, and he's a good player. He's sitting there. He's, good player.
Sure.
And in the course of our conversation, I said, well, where are you from? He said, well, I just got here from Oklahoma, and I literally just got here, and I said, what brings you here? And he said, well, I'm just going to try my hand at the music business. And I remember specifically thinking to myself, because I see that all day long.
Right.
And, it's, depending on what your mood is that day while you're at work. For me, it's just a job.
Sure.
And so I see this guy, and he says this, and I in the back of my mind, I think, yeah, you and everybody else here today.
Sure.
And that guy went on to be Joe Don Rooney from Rascal Flatts.
Wow.
And I will tell you this, no offense to Joe Don, but when I saw him that day in Corner Music, when he was fresh off the bus,
right.
If you'd have told me that guy would have ended up making millions and marrying a supermodel,
right,
I wouldn't have bet on that horse.
No,
but you never know.
You've probably seen other people come in that are just probably amazing. It's like, where in the hell have you ever been?
Yeah,
and they never go nowhere.
And they go nowhere.
They go nowhere.
It's a very strange thing in that line of work because where we are, Nashville, we're in the big leagues. We see, all these people that come here that are, all walks of life,
sure,
all musical styles, and man, I got guys that come into Corner Music that are like, postmen that will blow your mind with how well they can play. But it's just, my esteemed I'm lucky enough to have an esteemed friend in Billy Gibbons.
Right.
And he and I sat and ate dinner one time, just the two of us, and he literally looked at me and he said, "Man, I'm no different than you. I'm just an old guitar player who got lucky."
Right.
And when you have a guy like that tell you, that it's all about luck, you start to really understand that it is time and place. And
Right.
there's people that probably got no business being in the music business that are some of the luckiest people in the world, and they ascend to the top.
Exactly.
Little talent. I mean, we see a lot of that these days.
Oh, of course.
And then there's guys that are just like some of the best musicians that I've ever seen, and they can't get out of their garage. I mean, it's just luck of the draw.
It's the same way. Like I said, I've been a musician for years, and like I said, I'm no Eddie Van Halen, but I've played out in bars.
Yeah.
But the best musicians that I've ever seen is, like you said, have never left their bedroom or their garage. And it's a shame. And the thing is, I've seen people that have played very well in a garage in a jam situation, and then get out in front of a crowd and just fall to pieces.
Well,
they're just
and I mean, of course, there's varying degrees of that.
Right.
But living in Nashville, playing in the rock scene here for so many years,
Sure.
over 30 years.
Right.
I've seen so many people and know so many people that I just think are amazingly talented musicians who, they deserved to get a shot, but fate didn't quite have it, and it's part of it,
Right.
Luckily in the scene here, we all love what we do so much that it really doesn't end up mattering. We just keep on grinding away and playing because that's what we want to do,
It's funny because Alan, he was mentioning right before you came over, he said you were in we're from Evansville area. He's in Evansville, I'm in Newburgh, and you were just recently. It's been within the last year down at the boat down at the you were doing the Prince.
Yeah, I was with a Prince tribute band at that point.
And Alan's like going, "Damn, if I'd have known it was him, I would have went."
Which he's been there.
Well,
yeah.
shit.
It was I played with them for a couple of years.
Right.
I'm not with them now. I left at the beginning of the year. It was so much fun to do.
So what are you doing now? I noticed on Facebook you're doing another show.
Yeah. It's been highly publicized, courtesy of our good friends at Decibel Geek Podcast and
sure.
others.
Chris
that
and Aaron.
I had a significant tragedy a year ago in June, and still in the process of rebuilding. My house burned down, and and had a long fight with the historical commission.
It wasn't
and all
the
that
fact
stuff.
of just rebuilding your house. It was a deal with the city.
It got political because I have a pretty valuable piece of property apparently, and some people wanted it.
Now,
so
is it in that area down there near?
It's in East Nashville.
Okay.
And in that part of town that when I moved in over there, I used to have to chase crackheads off my porch, and now you get run over by baby strollers, and it's one of the most sought after neighborhoods in the country. So when my house burned down, what should have just been, okay, here's your insurance money, rebuild your house.
Sure.
It turned into this real bad struggle. For 6 months, I was not able to tear down my house. It just sat dormant while I fought these idiots from the historical commission who were really, in the end, they were just using their position to try to get my property. I mean, that's just the truth. We found out that that's what the motivation was. But anyway, that was an aside to basically say I've had to kind of reel some things in while I'm trying to rebuild my house. I still have my band, Jones World, that's the big 20-piece funk band that I've been doing for over 20 years.
Right.
Also, my kind of rock band, Funk Hammer, that's it's a 3-piece, me in the front, and we just kind of had to, again, sort of put it on the back burner until my house is finished.
Right.
But I started working on, after I left the Prince band, I kind of wanted to do something new, and I started a new band called Todzilla's Rip Roarin' Rock and Roll Big Top. And it's actually, I guess the best way to describe it is it's a rock and roll version of Cirque du Soleil.
There you go.
I've got girls dangling from the ceiling and fire eaters and people laying on beds of nails, and the whole time I'm standing in the middle with this amazing rock band playing cover songs that everybody knows and loves.
Right.
But things that you may have forgotten about. Stuff.
It sounds awesome.
The set list is really cool. I mean, we do old Van Halen, but like obscure stuff.
Sure.
Like our last show, we opened with Mean Street, you know.
Oh, I love that song.
And we do a little bit of Prince because people know me for that.
Sure.
But there's all kind of stuff in between. I mean, anything from Joe Walsh to Billy Squire and Elton John. I found this amazing group of guys, some people that I had been playing with for years.
Right.
And then, you know, found a couple of other people that were just unbelievable at what they do. And so we got put together a really great band.
So are you just doing this now in Nashville, or are you
no,
taking this on the road?
We're wanting to take it on the road.
Okay.
And the whole point is it is built to travel.
Right.
But you know, we're just getting it off the ground, so trying to get that snowball to roll down the hill. So anybody that's out there in podcast land, if you want a really, really great show, you just let us know. We'll come to you. We absolutely will. And it's really phenomenal. We've got people involved that are actual circus performers that went to circus college and things like that. You know, a lot of people don't know that such a thing exists.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, and of course, my beautiful girlfriend Abby, she's a burlesque dancer. We do have some burlesque involved, so you know, the show's a little over PG. Well, you know.
Well, I mean, but if you're playing in a bar situation,
it depends on where
21 anyway.
It depends on we can do it kind of PG, but you know, it's a very amazing show, and I'm just kind of the hood ornament on the whole thing. I get to front this amazing band and just kind of do all the things that I'm good at, whether it's rock or funk or pop or whatever. I'm just kind of the ringmaster of it all.
But it sounds entertaining. I mean, you're getting more than just a band. I mean, like I said,
it's a big show. I mean, the girls have like rigging that goes up into the ceiling, and they dangle from these silks and ropes and things.
Sounds very entertaining.
It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we had our first show last month at Exit Inn here in town, and it packed the place, and people walked away. People are still talking to me about it, so we must have done something really good.
Well, that's good.
I'm excited about it.
Well, I hope the best for that.
Yeah,
like
and you can find that on Facebook. We have a page. It's Todzilla's Rip Roaring Rock and Roll Big Top.
There you go. So like a .com.
Yeah,
it's like, man, I'm wearing out typing that.
I think it's facebook.com/RNR Big Top. I think that's what it is. Got to get the plug in there.
No,
but you know, it's a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. My house is, you know, hopefully we're going to be in within the next month.
That's awesome.
And I have redesigned my basement, has been completely redone, and I will have an actual recording studio in my house.
Cool.
And an amazing facility to rehearse. And so, you know, after I get back home and get things settled, then it's going to start really rolling downhill, and people will start seeing a lot more music out of me.
Well, that's great. We're glad to hear that. I know, like I said, we follow, you know, like I said, we're friends of Chris and everything, and we, like I said, we heard about all your issues with that. It was like, you know, it's like, oh, Lord. You know, it's already that you go through a tragedy, and then you got to deal with that kind of bullshit.
Yeah, it was pretty disheartening, and it's been a real torturous process. I mean, it's literally taken 15 months, and that's a long time to be displaced.
Yeah.
And you know, we're looking at the positives. We're going to have an amazingly beautiful brand new house built on the old foundation of the old house.
Cool.
So it's the same basic floor plan, and my neighbors have been walking by saying, "My God, it looks the same," you know, and that was the whole point. From the beginning is to rebuild the house the way, you know, as close to the way as it was, you know.
Well, that's awesome.
So you know, we're looking forward to the future. You know, and it's going to be a lot better. You know, next year is going to be a whole lot better than this one was.
Hopefully a lot more music and not so much drama.
Yeah, absolutely. The turmoil, please be gone. You know, I just don't want any more of it.
Exactly. Well, Todd, thank you very much for stopping by and talking to us. And like I said, the best of luck on your show. And like I said, hopefully get back down here. I'm only live about 2 hours from Nashville. Yeah. I'll check out when we can and come down here and check it out.
You let me know.
Maybe you'll be in Evansville sometime with your show.
And you know, yeah, I'd love to come to Evansville. Find me a place to play up there.
We'll
bring the circus to you.
I'll work with it. All right, thank you so much, Todd.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All
right. Hey, this is Alan from Ages of Rock Podcast, and I'm going to introduce to you a guest interviewer, Jason Thomas Broderick, a.k.a.
JTB from JTB's Groovy Record Room. I'm out north of Nashville, do record store day at a record store. Get in all kind of new stuff all the time, so look me up on Facebook. And we're at the Rockin' Pod, and this is awesome.
And we're going to let Jason interview Greg Renoff.
Yeah, Greg Renoff. We've been Facebook Van Halen buddies,
and in person buddies since last year. We met at the first Rockin' Pod.
Swap shirts and that kind of stuff.
Talk stories.
So I just got thrown over here. So tell people what you've been doing about go back to the first book, the Van Halen book, the Backyard Party book, and then what you're doing now.
Sure. Yeah. I wrote Van Halen Rising, which covers the band's beginnings in Pasadena up through their launch to worldwide success in 1978, and that was a kind of a labor of love for me. I started the book in about 2012. It came out in 2015, and wanted to really try to do justice to that period of time that probably you and me both as fans, even if we had consumed every interview, read everything we could about Van Halen, seen every documentary, still didn't know that much about how the band started, so little. So I was able to kind of get started by meeting some folks through Facebook, actually, a lot of people who grew up with the Van Halens or grew up with Roth, and then some people who hosted backyard parties, promoters, fellow musicians who gigged with them and kind of tell that story. And so that was how Van Halen Rising all came together.
And I've read that 3 times. I've read it 3 times, and actually a friend of mine has it now. I can't remember who has it, so whoever got it, bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. It's got Greg's initials autographed in there. That book was like, it filled the gaps, like you said. It was being a Van Halen fan. You didn't hear nothing about that. You might see a picture, hear some weird demo, didn't know who was on it.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's not Michael Anthony, found out who it is, But I like how you put together, you made stories in that book, is what I really liked, is like you would piece together, like you felt like you were at a backyard party in Pasadena, with the helicopters flying over and make them shut it down, and you just described it, and you had enough people that were at the gigs that it read like a story, like somebody was just telling you a story about, man, I saw Van Halen in the backyard, let me tell you what about it.
And that's what people did. I mean, that's what would happen. I would call somebody up, and I'll give you a perfect example, is somebody I met on Facebook said, you're writing a book about Van Halen and their Pasadena days. You know this guy Jack? And I said, who's Jack? And she said, Jack Van Vershay. I said, I don't know who that is. They said, well, Jack is the guy who in March 1974 threw that party in his backyard, and it turned out that I got to meet him, and he told me the whole story, showed me the flyer, and it was this thing where you hear the story from him about how he convinced his parents. Basically, I mean, a lot of time these parties would happen when people's parents would go out of town, but for this party, the parents were there and actually throw this party. And so you hear this story, you think, well, that's okay. I probably should find out a little bit more about this. And I talked to more people and more people and more people, and the stories all sort of line up. Flyers went everywhere. Everybody knew about it, and there were, at that point, Van Halen had enough of a following in Pasadena where everybody knew if you were going to go to a backyard party with Van Halen, it was going to be kick-ass. And so to have that happen, and then eventually be able to look in the newspaper and actually see there was a little tiny article about, police break up backyard disturbance, and I was like, wow, man, this really happened and stuff like, this really happened the way it happened, like the dates all matched up, and I said, wow, there's something really here. So that was, and for me to kind of understand as a fan why Van Halen became so successful, I kind of understood, even the US Festival, Dave Roth out there in front of all those people, in front of that whole people. I mean, it was like that in the backyards. I mean, it was the same thing. Obviously, a lot less people. There's 3,000 or 2,000 people in the biggest backyard party, maybe instead of 300,000, but it was the same idea, And so to kind of recognize that those guys have been doing that a decade before,
right,
and knew how to handle a crowd like that and how to get people fired up, and they were just the best at that. There was nobody better than Van Halen.
They were professionals for those 10 years.
Absolutely.
And people didn't know it. And let's talk about some of the covers they used to do.
Sure. That's
what always blew my mind. They would do, the club owner said, you got to do stuff people's going to dance to.
Right.
Dave made the band do stuff that was danceable. Danceable, right. Jamie's crying, that beat, it's danceable. It makes sense. And it would kill me. They do anything from Man on the Silver Mountain by Dio to KC and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and you hear those covers, of course they're bootleg and they sound bad, but you can still get when they did Pretty Woman, they improve upon every cover they ever did. Yep. They make it their own. So when you hear them doing Aerosmith and Zeppelin, it's it doesn't sound like Zeppelin. It sounds like Van Halen.
Yeah, I think the really cool thing too is that they would have such a wide array of songs, like you're saying, like they would be doing Cactus and Captain Beyond.
Yeah.
When they first started, they did more of like almost like the prog metal, like that early, really like kind of whacked out stuff. But they do Grand Funk, and then they would do all this, like you said, KC and the Sunshine Band, Led Zeppelin. The list is endless. Montrose. I mean, so it's
how
really
weird is that?
Yeah, it is weird.
They did a Sammy Hagar song in the '70s.
Yeah.
And then Sammy Hagar replaced Dave later.
Right.
How ironic is that?
Bad Company, Free. And so, I mean, that's the thing to me, too, is that how you look at a band and go, how did they get that band? They're so good at writing songs. Well, when you have a guy like Eddie, who's such a great songwriter, he also took apart 200-plus songs.
Classic
I mean, like, you know, he's like, oh, this is why this song is good. You kind of learn. It's the riff, it's the beat, it's all these things. You sort of you're able to write good songs in part by being able to, wood chop them. Basically woodshed them. Like be like, okay, this is how this song, can't get enough is great because of the beat and the riff and everything. You sort of learn how to write songs like that.
And then the fact that they could play, Get Down Tonight and make it Van Halen, and it's like you can almost hear like from like 74, 75 like shows to like the 77 stuff. They really like. You could just hear them progress and get better at songwriting on their own because all those covers, I think.
Right, and even it's funny you talk about the disco songs they used to do. Even Dance the Night Away is not a disco song, but it's still about dancing. In '79, it's like Disco Peak, and they're like, let's write a song about dancing. It's not going to be a disco song, but we'll write a song with dance in the title. So they were onto it, and they really were very savvy about how they did things, and it was such a I think a great school for those guys to be able to play in the Strip for so many years, as miserable as it must have been at times to be just sort of making no money and slogging away and playing these biker bars and all this stuff. That's why they were so damn good. I mean, that's why they were able to beat Black Sabbath at their own game and these other great bands because they'd been playing for years too.
My aunt was at a Black Sabbath show in Nashville when Van Halen opened, and another friend of mine I used to work with, she passed away, she was there. And I heard another friend were there, older people, and everybody says Black Sabbath come on, people just left.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that obvious that, man, they got smoked.
And the interesting thing about that gig, too, is that's the famous Ozzy Gets Lost.
Right. He got lost in Nashville.
And so I'll tell you guys, so if anyone here is listening from Nashville knows there was the Tennessean and the Banner.
Yep.
And if you get a copy of if you go to the library in Nashville or go somewhere, you can look at the Tennessee, the Banner, the Nashville Banner. The day after that gig, so the first gig happened on the 9th of November. You can look
so that's a Friday,
Wikipedia, right? So the next day, above the top of the front page, above where it says Nashville Banner, it says rock singer gets lost, and it tells the story of Ozzy getting lost. And I urge people. I'll try to throw it up on Twitter or Facebook soon. I have the clipping. The funniest thing about it is that the manager of Black Sabbath says, we lost Ozzy. We were worried because Ozzy never takes drugs or drinks alcohol, and he's a very, very responsible person.
PR.
So we were especially worried when we couldn't find him, but he was just exhausted from the road, and so it took me out. And they came back the Sunday. Then they played the makeup gig on the Sunday to finish it off. And so it's funny too. If you were in Nashville in 1978 and you had tickets to that show and you stayed, you saw Van Halen play. Sabbath cancels. Then you go back a few days later, 2 or 3 days later, and then you get to see Van Halen again and Sabbath.
Before the internet got big, I would have to defend that story. I've told people for years that no, they canceled. Van Halen played Friday night, then they come back and played extra long. Well, they played extra long Friday and they played extra long Sunday. Both is what I heard. And I've actually got a cassette of the Sunday show, but I've never heard one of the Friday shows.
I suspect that they stalled, that they probably played for over an hour on that.
Down in Flames and stuff like that.
And trying to stretch it out because they were hoping, they kept hoping Ozzy was going to walk in backstage, but it's a great.
So they got a long show, and then my aunt and them said that, well Aunt Janet, hey, Janet, they come back Friday, and they come back Friday to see Van Halen again. They didn't give a shit about Sabbath. Sabbath were passé. They were over by then.
Yeah.
They wasn't cool no more.
And that was right at the Municipal Auditorium right here in town, right?
Yeah. And I used to tell people that story. Nah, it ain't on the internet. Well, thanks to you, now it's on the internet.
Yeah,
it's in print.
Yeah, it's really it's a cool.
It's a true story, people. It's a Nashville connection.
Yeah, and then they come back a couple other times and play in Nashville. But that's that's one of those classic Ozzy stories. When I interviewed Pete Angelis for the book, obviously worked for Van Halen for years, later for Dave, managed Dave. He said that
Picasso brothers.
Yeah, they lost. So Dave was missing, and of course everyone was. Excuse me, Ozzy was missing, and he said that he was laughing when he told me the story. He said that when Ozzy came out of the hotel room in the elevator or whatever, kind of like all of a sudden, like the crew was running around and they're like, Ozzy's alive, he's alive, and like people were actually going, he's alive. They thought he was dead. Like people thought he was dead because they hadn't seen him for 24 hours or whatever. So that's a great story right here in Nashville.
So you've got another Van Halen related book in the works, right?
Yeah.
Tell everybody about that.
Yeah. So I'm working on the authorized biography of Ted Templeman. So Ted and I got to know each other well when I did the Van Halen Rising book, and he's
that Bullet Boys producer, right?
He did a Bullet Boys. Yeah, we did Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers, Little Feat, Carly Simon.
Wow.
And the other thing kind of interesting about Ted is that didn't have maybe a traditional rock producer biography, is that he was a pop star. So he was in this band called Harper's Bazaar, put out some records on Warner Brothers in the late 60s. They were kind of like the Association or the Fifth Dimension, these kind of soft rock.
I actually had that.
Yeah, and they sold quite a bit of records, and so Ted went from being a pop star to basically, of all things, being a tape listener for Warner Brothers, because he wanted to work in the record industry, and so they said, well, we'll give you a chance. But, of course, they don't just hand you the keys to the company. They say start at the bottom, and he talked to me about how he went through this box of tapes, and they would come in, they would go through and listen every night, listening to these tapes, and he heard the Doobie Brothers, and he was like, well, this is pretty good. And then she got the opportunity to produce the Doobie Brothers with Lenny Waronker, and then on to do the second one, Toulouse Street, which was a huge smash, and the rest is history.
Now, how did he hear Van Halen, said, I want to produce them, or did Warner Brothers say, hey, you need to produce these guys, or they put him on that, or how did that work?
So how this all happened is that Ted got a call at his office in Warner Brothers from Marshall Burrell. Marshall was booking the Whiskey in the fall of 76, early 77. So January, February of 77, Marshall got to know the Van Halen guys and had told those guys, I'm going to try to help you get a record deal. And Marshall told me that when he told them that, they had just come off the Gene Simmons debacle where they had not gotten a record deal, and he was very surprised, because I'm going to help you guys. And they were just kind of like, whatever, man. Everyone says that. You're not going to no one's going to help us, and we're not going to get a record deal. They were very negative, especially Eddie and Alice were very negative. And so he said, okay, well, so he knew Ted Templeman because Marshall had worked as a booking agent in the 60s, and Marshall had booked the Harper's Bazaar on some tours.
Okay.
And so he knew Ted, and so had seen Ted in the subsequent years, and so he called over to Warner Brothers and said, hey, Ted, I got this group. If you got some free time, you should come over to Starwood and see him. And Ted said that he knew Marshall had a pretty good ear for songs, like he knew him. They weren't best friends, but they were friendly. And then he said, look, if this guy called me up and said that, he's like, what the hell, I'll go see these guys. And he said he went in there the first night to Starwood and was like blown away, especially by Eddie. Was just blown away by Eddie. And then he came back the next night, he brought Mo Austin, who was the CEO of Warner Brothers Records, and then he also brought Russ Titleman, who was another producer for Warner Brothers, and they sat there and listened, and then went backstage and made the deal, and that was the end of it. That's how that happened, though. But Marshall's the guy who really deserves a lot of credit, because he's the one who made the call to Ted Templeman. And Ted said, people call me all the time, but I was like, whatever. People are calling me, and you're a record producer. People are always trying to give you tapes, and said, but he said he knew Marshall, he trusted Marshall, and because Marshall had that cred with him, he was willing to go to the club and kind of stand in the back and listen to this band. He was like, wow, they kick ass. So that's how that all went down.
Now, how do you think, if let's say another producer produced Van Halen instead of Ted Templeman, I, for one, think that it was just made to be. It was supposed to be that Ted Templeman he pulled a lot out of those guys I don't think anybody else could have done. I think he knew how to record them. He knew how to help Dave, give him lines or give him melody lines and stuff to do, and really help him improve. And I just don't know if another producer would have finished it off with him. I don't,
I think that the two things that play there. I think that Ted, because he grew up in a vocal group.
Yeah, he heard those harmonies.
He heard harmonies, and he said, we can do more with this. I mean, Ted is a guy who grew up learning all the Beatle records.
And that's what separates Van Halen from other so-called heavy metal bands. They could sing three-part harmony like the Beach Boys.
Right, and that's right.
And that's what made them better than everybody.
Ted grew up in the 60s like everybody else who wanted to go into rock music, imitating the Beatles. His group that became Harper's Bazaar, they were basically like a Beatles cover band when they first started. He loved the Beach Boys. And so he heard that exactly. He heard the harmony potential there. But also the other thing that he heard, Ted grew up a jazz trumpet player. And so Ted was a guy who loved bebop, loved big band, loved jazz, and kind of understood the sort of Miles Davis sort of outside the box soloing type of thing, where he was able to look at Eddie and go, it's not conventional. He's not soloing like a Bad Company solo. That's not his thing.
Right.
He's much more spontaneous, much more fluid,
Like
and
a
he's
Miles
much more
Davis kind of thing.
right, much more Ornette Coleman, some of these jazz guys he could bring. He said, and so Ted said to him, he goes, I could see, instead of looking at Eddie and going, he's too wild, he's too out there. I mean, it's not pop. He said, I kind of saw the potential and said, I know how we can harness this and get that crazy guitar playing within a pop context.
Yeah, I think he kind of knew what to do with them, and even I kind of wonder sometimes with some of the covers they did if it wasn't his suggestion.
So yeah, this is something that's going to come out in the book when it comes out. But the only song that Ted suggested as a cover, the only one was "Dancing in the Street."
I knew you was going to say that.
The only one. The only one you knew. Well, a lot of people. I mean, even kind of heard stuff from the band where there's this hinting that Ted had all this to do with the cover. Ted said, "You really got me." Band had that one before. Band had that one. They brought it to the band. You're No Good. Dave's idea.
That was stellar.
That was Dave's idea. Pretty Woman. They brought that to him.
And the Linda Ronstadt version was still on the charts, wasn't it?
They brought that
Big
was Bad
smart.
Bill.
Oh, I love that
Dan's
one.
idea. And so it's not as if Ted wasn't happy to do the songs, but it wasn't as if Ted was like, we only have to do cover songs, and that's sort of like been the But that was the only one. The only reason why, I'll tell you, this is kind of a cool thing too. The only reason why they ended up doing "Dancing in the Street" is because they couldn't finish. They needed another song. Diary Down to Short already. They were running out of time. They had to finish the record, and he said, "I know what we can do with this song. We can put it to Dancing in the Street." And they had actually talked about doing Dancing in the Street initially before Pretty Woman. It was between Pretty Woman and Dancing in the Street, and they decided to do Pretty Woman. And Ted said, wait a minute, we can do this. And he had an idea how to kind of make it work.
Yeah.
And so it was just basically a thing like, if we don't do this, we're going to have to do something else because we need another song, and this is not done. In other words, there's no melody, there's no lyric. You can't just kind of put that riff, that keyboard riff from Dancing in the Street on a record and call it a song. You have to finish it. And that's the way they finished it. So that was Ted's idea.
What?
I got to go.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this up before we do it. I'm very unprofessional.
We're going to wrap it up.
Let's get everybody, Greg Renoff, who wrote the first Van Halen book. What's the name of it?
Van Halen Rising.
Van Halen Rising, that's it. And he's working on Ted Templeman book, Van Halen Freak, like me. What is your favorite Van Halen album? And just from listening perspective, your favorite. No politics, no nothing, no like Eddie's playing is better on this day, but no, what's your favorite? What's the one you put on the most?
Yeah, I mean, I probably put on the first one the most, but you asked me another day, I would have said like Women and Children first, but let's go with the first one. I'll call that one. The first is the best.
I'm going to say Fair Warning.
All right.
Because
not going to get an argument with me. It's great.
No, I mean I love them all, but I mean the first one I've heard so much.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah. Definitely, that's probably the least radio-friendly of the records, actually.
Any of them. Okay, real quick, what did you think about, honestly, what did you think about A Different Kind of Truth?
I like it. I mean, I think it's a record that, down the line, I think everyone's going to recognize it doesn't match up with the other records. I mean, sometimes people say it's like right there with the six-pack.
If it was recorded like the six-pack, yes,
that's
it would have
a whole different discussion. We could talk about that. But I just think it's, I think based on how dysfunctional Van Halen has been, the fact that they put a record out was amazing.
The fact that they did anything is amazing. Well, let's leave it at that.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Greg. Good seeing you again. Thanks, Alan, for letting me take over your show.
All right, so we're at the Nashville Rockin' Pod Expo 2, and I'm sitting here with Alora.
Hi.
How are you?
To be here.
So you are a new up-and-coming artist.
Yes, I am.
All right, so rumor has it that there is a major producer that is producing your first record.
Yes, there is. I've got my first EP recorded by Michael Wagner.
Like the Michael Wagner?
Oh yeah, it was magical and amazing.
All right, tell us. We got to hear the story. There's a story here, right?
A little bit, yeah. So I work with a guy named Johnny with Daredevil Productions. He's my manager. And back in 2016, I got to meet Michael Wagner, go see his studio, which was awesome. And then I went back to Texas, where my family's from. I didn't really think much of it because I was like, there's no way this is ever going to happen. 2 years down the road, I moved to Nashville in November, and Johnny was like, hey, you want to record with Michael Wagner? And I was like, are you kidding me right now? And he was like, you got songs for a record? And I was like, I will.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah. So I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and I was like, all right, we're recording with Michael Wagner. I got to be a professional adult here. And this is right after moving out of my parents' house, like 18 years old.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it well.
That is awesome.
It was an amazing experience. He's a fantastic person.
So when did you? So have you recorded the record yet?
Yes.
Okay.
We finished it just the very end of July.
Okay. So you have an expected date?
Not quite yet, but it's going to be here in the very near future.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So tell us about the music. Is it typical rock music? So you're in Nashville. Is it country flavored at all?
It's definitely rock.
There you go.
It's definitely like, I like to call it like modern rock, but it's very heavily influenced by 70s and 80s rock.
Great.
My favorite genres. I couldn't keep those influences down. They
Good.
were just, I love them so much.
Must be good parenting.
Yeah, my dad gave me his records
There you
at
go.
12 years old, and I was like, I want to do rock music.
There you go. There you go. Yep, I have a young one too, and I've been an influence because this is Ages of Rock, so we don't,
definitely.
if it was Ages of Country, we'd have to like kick you off here. But
Yeah,
you're in the right zone. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what do you think about today?
It's been awesome. I've met so many really cool people. I've chatted with people from all over the U.S. who came here for this little event. It's just fantastic. It's been a really great experience today.
It's kind of interesting because I'm sure at your age, so you're under 25.
Yes.
Yes, I won't reveal your age, but I know you're under 25. Social media is huge, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, how is that going to play into your getting your music out and stuff? Because I know that for the older artists. So we had Anthony on here a while ago from Tora Tora,
right.
and he said, that really it's just very different today than it was back in the 80s and 90s whenever they were putting records out. You put your vinyl out, and you put your CDs out or cassettes, and they sold. And now it doesn't really work that way anymore.
Definitely. I feel like the biggest struggle right now with social media is getting people to buy music. A lot of people want to stream it, and sometimes I'm guilty of it too, but when I have friends or I have a band I love, I go and buy the record. Even if I'm going to go stream it, I still buy it beforehand. But it's just, I feel like the big thing about social media is everybody's really excited about tours and stuff, but they're not always super excited about buying music. So I got to find a way to get people excited about buying my music and seeing me on tour and going.
You got to have to hop on a tour.
All my friends are supportive, and they're all about sharing it and want people to buy my music, and they're all about it. So I'm hoping that just the friends that I've made over time will help me out with that.
And I think you'll get some help here too.
Definitely.
These are, we did this last year and met some really great people. And have become friends with them a lot.
Yeah.
So we help each other out. So definitely, you've got our cards and stuff like that. So you send us your stuff, and we'll definitely try to get it out there for you and help you out in any way we can. So do you have a band then, or what are you doing?
I don't yet, but if anybody's out there, good musicians looking for a band to join, I'm looking to put one together here.
There's no good band. There's no good musicians in Nashville.
Man, I swear you could throw a stone and you would find a good musician out here in Nashville.
And you wouldn't have to throw it very far.
Oh, no. You could just kind of lightly toss it like an elementary schooler in a
I think you could do it. I think you could nail about 14.
Yep, definitely.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, thank you very much, Alora, for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you.
Good luck on your career. I'm sure we'll be seeing you more.
Definitely.
And, what a gift.
Yeah.
I hope you were able to take that and run with it. And, you filled Nissan Stadium on a Saturday night like somebody else tonight that I won't go see. So, all right. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Cool. So, we're here at the Rockin' Pod Expo 2.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here with Kenny Olsen. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Hey, it's interesting. So Kenny's got a T-shirt on. You guys can't see it because it's on the video, but it says Harpo's.
Yep.
So I'm from Evansville and lived right across the alley from a bar called Harpools.
Right on.
So when you walked up, I was like, that dude's got a Harpool shirt on.
That's a good name, Harpools.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That.
So what are you up to, man? Tell us what's going on.
Just keeping busy, which is a good thing, I guess, for an old guy like me. I'm not that old, I guess. I don't.
I'm not that old. I'm going to go with I look old, but I'm not that old.
Yeah. So no, I've been keeping busy. I got several new projects that are coming out with new stuff here. I've got a band 7 Day Binge. We finally put that back together. We haven't done a record in like 7 years, and got that coming out. I've got a solo project I'm doing, and then also doing a documentary thing with a lot of legendary people, and we're going to be going around different studios and doing a lot of good storytelling and doing that. And I've also been commuting back and forth to LA as well. I'm between usually Nashville, Detroit, and LA, well, everywhere. I'm always all over the country or traveling out of the world. But I've got a project out in LA, me and Steve Perkins from Jane's Addiction, and Norwood from Fishbone, and Scott Page from Pink Floyd, and myself. So we're getting ready, working on some material with that and recording, already starting to do some shows and stuff with that. And so, keeping busy.
Sounds like you're bored, have nothing to do.
And, I'm living here in Nashville. I'm always, playing other people's records or producing stuff too.
You're one busy guy, that's for sure.
Gotta do it while you can.
Exactly. So talk about the documentary a little bit. Can you share anything with that yet, or do you have any?
It's really, it's kind of really organic how it's really happening anyways. I back when I was years and years ago, even when I was still with Kid Rock, we were for example, we were doing like those Experience Hendrix tours and all that stuff, and I'd be sitting there on the bus with like Hubert Sumlin and just hearing these like great stories from him in the Howlin' Wolf days, and just there's so many legendary people were on the tour, and we just sit around and on the bus and just like these just amazing stories that just come out.
Those are so cool.
Yeah, and I figured, and I've lost so many dear good friends in the over the years that we're all supposed to be part of this project. And I had some really, really amazing people, and even someone I remember a long time ago, Greg Allman, actually called me and he's like, Kenny, you need to do like how Santana did their record with all these younger people. You need to do a record with a bunch of us old guys so you can take the torch, and kind of thing. And and obviously Greg is one of the people that is no longer here with us. And, and finally trying to, because it's those kind of projects are different. Like we've done compilation stuff like that I've done that with a lot of different people in there. But the way this one's being done, it's kind of got a stripped down version of it that can go on the road, and then there's all the bells and whistles, depending on what the promoters who they're willing to fly in and stuff for that. So, and it's a lot of fun, and it's like an ongoing thing. It's not like I'm even putting the brakes on it at any point. It's like we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And with the other bands and stuff I'm doing, and with my my solo stuff, I can pretty much, it's because it's my thing. I can take break and do the other stuff and do that. So I'm making it all work. It's like, it's still keeping my sanity. I've got kids and stuff to tend to. So I've got to, I'm not trying to do way too much. Lose my mind, but
but it's staying relevant, staying in the business. That drive. Most musicians, they need to they get their energy from putting out new music and product and working with other people and that kind of stuff.
You got to constantly. It's with me. It's every time I grab a guitar, it's like I end up writing something, and it's like and then it's a lot of times I'll forget and it goes out the window, and it's like so trying to make find a home for that, because a lot of those kind of songs that are spontaneous and just kind of come up, they have those beautiful mistakes in them. It becomes timeless and stuff that you want to be remembered by. You can't take material things with you when you die, but you can leave behind as much good music as you possibly can, and hope that people actually like people in our generation, we love music and care, but a lot of these younger people, they don't even really care about who's played on what, or they don't buy a CD or an album, have an artifact to even look at. And God bless what you guys are doing, because this is like back in the day when you had like Cream Magazine or Hit Parader, and it's like what you guys are doing is really filled that void and taken it to another level, because now it's just crazy to reach as you can, and I'm honored to be, on the show with you and doing this, and hope we can do more. I've got a lot of, as this next few months go, all this new stuff's gonna be coming out, and I'd love to definitely send it to you. Sure.
Oh yeah, we'd love to have that. Yeah, that'd be great. It will definitely help get stuff out. I mean, that's we've been pretty lucky and gotten to interview some new bands, that are just trying to get stuff out there, and the struggle, like you talk about, it's it's not the same, it's not about putting a CD in a place and anymore. They just don't do that. And I read, it's kind of interesting though, because I read last month or the month before that Billboard claimed that more LPs were sold than CDs for the first time in history, which is an amazing thing. And then at the same time, you have all this download stuff going on, and you have Peter Frampton that tweeted out that what "Baby I Love Your Way" was downloaded 55 million times, and you got a check for $1,700. Oh my God!
Wow.
I mean, that is so freaking wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy, because I've had myself and every other artist out there as well. We've all had zeros drop off.
Oh yeah,
checks,
I mean,
and it's and it's like this is our 20-year anniversary of Devil Without a Cause. We put that out, and we were very blessed at that time period, because we were actually able to go out, just like the old way we did it, where we'd showcase, you get your record deal, and if you get the right record deal and you negotiate right, you get tour support.
Right. Yeah.
And it was that last generation of people buying records, and to be, the part of a record that really, made history as one of the best-selling debut albums of all times, and we never thought that. We were sitting in Detroit, like, yeah, right. Someone told us, Jason Flom was signed us, like, I'm going to make this album as big as Appetite for Destruction. And I'm like, yeah. I want what you're smoking.
Probably a lot.
But then we, but that was the era. A lot of the success of that is, some of it's due to our shock value, but it was also due to the fact that we had, that was the tail end where people still did it the old way and got behind it. And, we spent 3.5 years in touring that first album, but all of a sudden, someone would have told us we were going to have a diamond record.
Right, yeah. Nowadays,
I would like,
crazy.
And it's like even our following, I was, all the following albums, they had to follow that, which was not easy. I mean, our Cocky record was did really well, but that was a year after it came out that we put out Picture. And that's what made that record do so well, but it wasn't, wasn't like, our first one was just insane. It was
it's a sophomore slump, right?
Yeah, here's the ride, boys. Jump on. We're going for a ride, and the next thing you know is it's like, people wouldn't even believe the stories if I told them. It got to the point where if a unicorn, walked on my bus, I would just been, hey, dude, what's up?
There you go.
But,
so where can people find you, man?
Well, social media. I got we're redoing my site and stuff right now, but it's just KennyOlsen.com, and then obviously the Facebook, all that stuff. I have people, thank God, help me with all this, because I didn't really get into the modern world until I had an iPhone and forced myself.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I was just telling them that in another interview I did earlier, I shocked my daughter when I actually sent her an email.
Oh, yeah.
A few years ago, she was like, whoa,
yeah.
Dad, you're going to give me a heart attack. And I haven't even got to get out there and have a career yet. And
I'm just glad, I'm just glad that still have a teenager at home. When I can't get mine to work, I'm just like, dude, you got to figure that out. Because I can't figure out how to get this thing off. And he's like, oh, you just do this, and that. And he hands it back to me. And like, you realize you can't go to college.
My sons are both, they're all, back in the day when it was Christmas, you'd be like, help him put together something. They're like, Dad, back off. I got this. You're going to mess
Actually,
it up.
I'll help you.
Stick with your tube amplifiers and your guitar cord.
Exactly. That's exactly
I will.
The issue.
I will.
Yep. For sure. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you hanging out for a few minutes.
Thank you. Sorry I got over here late. They had me.
It's okay.
And I get long-winded sometimes.
No, it's not a problem. So it's been great. It's been great having you, and I'm glad we got to connect. Last year we tried. We got got a little didn't quite get it done. So it's good to have you down.
Us Midwesterners, we got to stick together.
That's exactly right.
Midwest is best.
That's exactly right. It's not all about L.A.
No.
Except for if you want to make some money.
You look at all the people that, even though they made it out in L.A. or
where do they live now?
Where do they come from?
Yeah, there you go. They all came from the Midwest.
We got that work ethic.
And they all live and a bunch of them live in Nashville.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
Oh God, this place is like, I've been here 10 years and it's like, it's insane how many people. I mean, I start hearing stats of how many people are moving here on a weekly basis, and and it's insane.
It is insane. It's crazy, and it's traffic is ridiculous.
I drove. It's Saturday. I had major traffic getting over here today.
Oh yeah.
I was like stuck in traffic. It's like Saturday afternoon. I drove over here at 2:00 in the afternoon, and I was in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
Wow.
On a Saturday. That's not even like that in L.A.
No, I've been to LA on a Saturday at 2, and it's not like that. No, it's not that bad.
Atlanta, maybe.
Well, yeah. You always drive through Atlanta at 2 a.m. That way you don't have to hit anything.
Atlanta, when the traffic is kicking in Atlanta, it's
it's bad.
Great city, but
it's
kind of like but like Nashville, it's not like it's a gigantic city, so it's not built, like L.A.
Yeah.
Detroit, New York, they're all spread so
out.
far out that there's traffic, but not everybody's all living in the same
box.
Yeah, but it's developable because you have so many surrounding areas around here too, and they'll be all right.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks a lot for sitting down. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And we'll look for some new stuff coming from you.
Yes, definitely.
All right, man.
I'm excited about it.
Great. All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, bro.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.